Listen. Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Awkward Situation. I'm Jay Tross. That's my boy Ziggy. But before you say anything, Ziggy, I was just thinking, right? I was just thinking, the intro music we have. I was actually just trying to put words to it. So maybe one day, instead of it just being the music, it'll be some kind of sound bite of some words added to it, like awkward situation. I mean, or something.
Okay. All right. All right. All right.
Hey,
Yeah.
you never know. I got
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
people, man. I got people that can do some things for us.
Yeah. That sounds good, man. That sounds real good. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
we'll
know you
see.
got the skills for it too. So yeah.
I got the skills for it, but then I got people too. You know what I mean? So it's all about passing it on. To somebody that's a little bit more skilled in that arena.
As long as I don't get the bill, because I've been getting bill.
Hey, listen, man. This business that we're building, right? This business that you're building. Listen, it's gonna cost us. You know what I mean? It's gonna cost. I took a class. Was that economics? I think it
Uh,
was economics back in high school. Some of these classes you think you. Let me just ask you this real quick before we get into our episode. What are some of the classes that you took back in elementary school, middle school, high school, even college, right? That you said I will never use this in my entire life. What were some of those classes you think?
well, let me tell you. I took home economics.
Why you had to go to mine? But go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah. I took home economics because there were some girls in the class I liked, and so I wanted to be. I was the only guy up in there, so it was like 15 to 20 girls.
Mm.
And it was only me up in there. And so I enjoyed the class because I got to hone in on my skills and use my skills and sharpen them, if you may. But I actually learned how to make scones, and I learned how to do other things that I have used since I've had a family, and since I do some of the cooking in the household. That class helped me out quite a bit. Another class that I took in high school, and I also took in college, was woodworking.
Mm.
You know, um, I made a stool for the class, and to this day, every time I go home to Barbados, my parents still have that. They still have that same stool, and it's still functioning.
Wow.
So I always said to myself, maybe I'll make another stool someday. But I never thought I'd use that class, but what I learned in that class allowed me to build some of the framing for my basement in the bottom,
Mm.
in my house, and so I found it very, very helpful.
Oh wow, wow.
What
I
about you?
all of them. Okay, you know what? All the classes I took. Listen, man, every class I had in life, I said I'm never ever going to use any of this stuff. But some couple in particular, like economics, right?
Mhm.
Economics. Um, we did a lot of stuff with like stock market and different things like that. And I'm saying to myself, because that also went right along with math, right?
So now
Like,
you're a Bitcoin millionaire.
listen, Bitcoin, man, please. I wish that's a different story, but I never really thought because I never really thought of what I'm lying in a sense. Well, I told myself I was going to be a millionaire by 25.
Oh my goodness, I said 30.
Yeah, I said 25, and but at the same time, I didn't think I was going to be using economics to do it, and that's probably why I didn't reach that goal at 25.
Mm-hmm.
But economics was one of those I was like, I'm never going to use this. Social studies, I was like, no, I'm not going to use this. English, I'd rather speak Spanish. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's like, it was like some of those classes, and like, man, like, and it's funny because there were certain classes you had to take in school, whether it was middle school, high school, college, right? Some
Yeah.
of the basic classes, the math, English, what they call it, the arts, right?
Yeah.
Math and math, English, science, and those things. And it's funny because though you thought you would never use them, you're always using pieces of those,
Hmm.
right? You're using pieces of the method, whether you're baking something and you're using a measuring cup, right? Whether you're trying to, I know every once in a while so I do a lot of like uh, baking things, and so sometimes I may run out of something, and so I run out of it, and then I'm trying to balance. Okay, what can I use as a substitute, right? And
Hmm.
so when I find that substitute, then I have to measure that out to make sure it's not over or under, things of that nature.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so you find yourself using some of those, those skills that like, man, I remember that back in middle school where it said, don't mix this, right? So when I was in, was it middle school? I think it was. I decided that I wanted to mix bleach, ammonia, Comet.
I
Exactly.
already know what
Which
happened. That thing smoked up and it choked you out and you could not breathe.
listen,
I
listen.
did the same thing. I lost my taste. I lost my sense of smell and taste for 2 weeks.
So I thought I was doing a good thing. So back to that home economics, right? In home economics, you learned a lot of stuff. You learned how, like you just said, little baking skills, how to clean a house, how to fold laundry. So I thought I was doing a good thing. Like, yo, grandma's bathtub needs to be cleaned, right? I said it needs to be cleaned. Now, I could have took a little comment and put it in there, let it sit for a couple minutes, and then get a little towel or whatever and clean it out. Nah, I wanted to fast pace. I felt like I was the first microwave, right? Like I want it done instantly, right? So yeah, so I mixed those things, and in the old days they had those claw tubs. That's them real good tubs, right? So grandma
Mm-hmm.
had one of those real nice claw tubs,
Wait, the one with the claw
and
feet?
with the claw feet,
Okay,
yes
all
sir.
right, all right.
Yeah, and so I was like, yeah, it looks dirty. Probably wasn't that dirty, right? But I was cleaning. I was being a help. I wanted to make sure I'm doing my part in the house. Listen, sir, you already told the end of the story. Yes, indeed. So I remember grandma having. I think my grandma had to go pick up my mom for work. It was time for my mom to get off work, but she took me with her, and I was still coughing. Right, I was coughing, coughing, coughing. So my mom got in the car. I was like, "Well, what's wrong with him?" And so my grandma was like, "Well, he did this." Oh my gosh, not really thinking about it that much. My mom, whatever. But when we got back to the house, you can smell it throughout the house. So I'm still coughing, all this kind of stuff. And so I remember them calling poison control and called poison control. And poison control basically said, hey, get a hot towel and put that over his face
Mm.
and, nose or whatever. And then that helped to get all that, get it all out. So I can remember that too. And so from time to time, I put a hot towel on my face because I do other stupid stuff. I mean, anyway, so yeah, some of those. I don't know how I just got on that subject, but yeah, some of those classes, you just didn't want
Well, the class
to.
didn't help that particular one.
It did the science of it, knowing not to mix these things.
Well, listen, me being a chemistry major, I should have known not to mix it. And especially on the label, it says, do not mix bathroom cleaner with toilet cleaner.
Oh yeah,
And
and I
I
had that
mixed
in there
it
too.
anyway.
I had all of that stuff in there. Yeah, I had the toilet cleaner, I had the bathtub cleaner, I had the bleach, I
Mm.
had the ammonia. Do they even still make ammonia? Yeah, I think they do. But
Yeah, yeah,
anyway,
yeah, they
so
do. Yeah.
yeah, so I had all of that, and so all you saw was a gush of smoke coming out of that tub. It was like you know what I mean?
And listen,
Very.
I'll go one step further. I mixed it in a spray bottle.
Oh,
And while I'm putting the top on,
it was
I
expanding.
start to feel it get hotter and hotter, and it started to swell up. So I'm trying to
You
get
trying to
it.
spray it?
And this thing is swelling up, and the gas is everywhere. So I turned the water on. I turned the vent on, and my eyes just went closed. And then I started coughing till I felt like I was going to throw up. So I run outside to get some, to get some breath, but I couldn't get any breath because everything had closed up. So I was on the ground about to pass out, and my wife was in there with the kid, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna die out here."
Wait a minute. Wait. See, I caught two things in this whole story. You said as a chemistry major, you should have known.
Yes.
Then you said your wife and kids.
Yeah, my wife and one kid at that point in time, but
That's that's that
they were in the bedroom.
that don't
I
matter.
was in the hallway, and
Wait,
so
wait, pause. You definitely should have known better. I was a kid. You was a doggone grown.
with a chemistry biochemistry degree,
You
I
a
should have known better.
man. I thought you was 7, 8 years old, man. Nah, look how they said, nah, dog, nah.
I was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
full grown man. I was like 26,
Listen,
27, man.
what in the
That was
world?
crazy. So listen, what's our topic for today, man?
Well, before we get in our topic, we gotta do little business on the side, little
Oh,
business on
okay.
the
All
side.
right.
Letting our audience know that this episode, of course, is being brought to you
Ooh,
by MEI. We
yeah.
making education intentional, and so
Yes,
we always
sir.
want to remind them of that, and the opportunities that exist out of MEI is so vast. I mean, through the wall. Listen,
Why don't you tell them some of the things we do, man?
listen. Why don't you tell them some of the things we do? Why don't you open up the vault real quick and let the people know?
Okay, so on a serious tip, I help people with relationships, whether it's the relationship inside your head, how you feel about yourself, the stuff that you say to yourself, the stuff that you do to yourself. I help people with that. I also help people with interpersonal relationships, how you deal with people on the job, how you deal with people from day to day. But I also help people deal with their boo. If you and your boo are having problems, I can help you identify ways to get along better with your boo. And so if you're male or female or whatever you identify as, I can help you with your relationship. Now, if you're a business owner, I can come in and help your team figure out how to get more synergy within their group. And so, yes, we laugh, joke, and play here, but there's a other side that we have, which is www.siegfriedhowell.com. You go on there, you get to see all the different services. You go on LinkedIn, you go to Relationship Success Basics 101. You will see me on Instagram. If you go on Relate to This, you would also see me on Instagram. And we're about to launch everything on YouTube with Relate to This.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. That's what's up. That's what's up. Hey, so then to follow up with that, our awkward situation program is always kicking off. You can catch us on Spotify, on Anchor, on Amazon,
Apple.
on No Apple,
No Apple?
on Google. I said good podcast on Google Podcast as well. Yeah, Apple. You remember when we? What's funny is when we first started our programming, we were looking at places to broadcast, and really at that time, and I thought about it later, but anyway, at that time, it was like it was so much. It was almost like filling out an application for Apple to be able to produce. But then I thought about it later. And I hadn't looked at it since.
Mm-hmm.
I think it, and I could be wrong, but I think because I was in Canada at the time,
Mm-hmm.
that there was a little different structure. Because in different countries things are done a little differently.
Yeah. Hello.
And so even though I'm going to apple.com or Apple Podcast or Spotify or whatever, there are questions that they ask you in these countries, related to that, whatever. And so I never really looked back at it. And we'll take a look at it as we move
Okay.
forward.
All right. Yeah, no problem. No problem.
And we'll go from there. But hey, enough with that. Enough with that. Today's episode of Awkward Situations is awkward situations when you're unprepared.
Awkward situations when you're unprepared. Have you ever been unprepared?
Oh, and I'm not trying to like gloat or anything. I'm not trying to do that.
Don't gloat
I
on being unprepared.
I am the number one procrastinator
Oh wow.
known to mankind. Now, in saying that, I get it done, right? But
Hmm.
there have been some times where even in my procrastination and how I can kind of manage to pull things together where I know straight up and down I am so unprepared. I do not know how it's going. I spoke somewhere one time.
Hmm.
It was for like it was an event at some hotel, and it was like I don't know some time ago, and I mean many years ago. And I can remember they had asked me to I think either do like the devotional thought or do something right, and I procrastinated. And I can remember being up there and I'm talking and I'm saying to myself as I talk, like, what am I talking about? And the devotion wasn't even that long, right? It wasn't that long. I mean, devotions, 10, 15 minutes. But because of a huge crowd, they want you to go at least 15 minutes to,
Hmm.
get the people, going. And I'm talking and I'm saying to myself, well, what? What? And when I got done, I realized, like, wait a minute, I think I quoted that scripture wrong. Yeah, that one right there was wrong too. Yeah, I hope nobody comes to me and say, "Yeah, sir, I'm gonna need for you to I'm going to have to fact check your stuff." But yeah, no, there's definitely been, and you know when you're unprepared, even if nobody else knows,
Hmm.
you can feel it. And I mean, what about you? I mean, you do a lot of things, and I know that what you do now with relationships and things like that. That you're always prepared.
Oh yeah.
But
I am not going to show up unprepared for
right,
any of
right.
that,
But
especially
but
on
but have
social
you have
media.
you have you ever been unprepared in a big setting?
As a teacher for
Hmm.
over 23 years, I remember one time, and it wasn't very few. I mean, it wasn't a lot of Mondays that I wasn't prepared, but there was one Monday that, and it's one like out of five in 25 years that I wasn't prepared. But I believe the superintendent showed up,
Mm.
and I was pulling rabbits out my hat. And luckily for me, it was during science class. And so I could fumble through the science enough because it was like a sixth, seventh, eighth grade science class.
Uh-huh.
And, I just coming from out of town and I just wasn't ready. And I barely got to school. I wanted to take the day off. Superintendent showed up on a Monday. Why do superintendents show up on a Monday? That's the one time that teachers may not have their act together. And so, yeah, I wasn't prepared, but I managed through it, and I was able to pull rabbits out, out my hat. But I had one student that said, "Mr. Howell, did we do this on Friday?" I was like, "Look, listen, only a couple of us finished it, so I want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to finish." you know. But yeah, that was the one time. But let me tell you this one story. You like this one?
Mm-hmm.
My wife had a funeral to go to, and back then there was no GPS,
Mm.
and it was right before MapQuest came out,
Oh wow.
and so I purchased a map. We were going to North Carolina, and back then you had a map that goes throughout the whole United States,
Right,
and then you
right.
could buy individual maps when you went to gas stations. You can get the map for that state, so you can map out where you were going. And so we were going to a funeral, and my wife was supposed to sing, and we're supposed to get there. Let's say we're supposed to get there at 10:30.
Right.
We left from Huntsville, Alabama. We're going to North Carolina. And I miscalculated everything. So I thought I was going to get there with a couple of hours to spare. Well, here's the one thing that happened. About 3 in the morning, I got tired, so I pulled over at this gas station and I said, "Babe, I need for you to drive for an hour
Mm-hmm.
so I can sleep." So I pulled off to the side so I wasn't blocking anyone. We changed drivers. She got in the car. I fell right to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I woke up an hour later. We were still in the same spot. She got in the car and fell asleep
What?
right away, man. And so I was unprepared for that. So we were trying to make up that hour. And so we're driving. And I'm like, hold up. It looks like this trip is like an hour and a half longer or it's 2 hours
Mm-hmm.
longer than I had estimated.
Right.
So when we pulled up, the funeral was almost finished.
Oh wow.
The preacher was preaching. We walked in there, and one of the people looked at my wife and said, "Hey, do you still want to sing?" She was like, "No, I'm too fragile." We didn't even have an opportunity to change into the regular clothes.
Wow.
And so we were unprepared for that trip. We were unprepared to
Mm.
sing. We were unprepared to meet everyone. And we were unprepared because we were too sleepy. So,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
totally unprepared for that one.
Wow. Listen, speaking of trips, so we took a trip, me and about, I think it was about 10 guys, 8 guys, maybe 8 guys. We went on a fishing retreat. So we went fishing, right?
Mhm.
So we thought, hey, this trip should be made about, 4 hours, five. I don't know what we were thinking, like as far as the distance for this trip. And I'm not going to say 5 hours. When I tell you what a trip is, you're gonna be like, how did I even think that, right? So, so we get on. So we start out from Delaware, and then we had to go to PA to get a couple people.
Mm,
P on the other side, like Greencastle area, like out past like 80, 81, whatever it is out there, past Maryland on that side. So we all get into the vehicle. So we now, we excited. We about to go here. We're gonna be here for like 3 days, I think it was, and 4 days, whatever. And we excited. Everybody get in the van, and da 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 da. Right?
mm,
We get on the road. Now this was about 10 years ago, I think, and I guess GPSs were out. I guess, yeah, I guess it was right. So we input the information in the GPS at that point. It said 9 hours.
That's double. That's double the time.
So I can't really remember the exact time in which we thought it was, but we were going to Tipton, Tiptonville, I think it is, or Tipton, or whatever it is, Tennessee.
Mm.
Listen, I mean, nobody said nothing. It was like we were in shock and we just rolled with it. You know what I mean? But oh my God, you talking about unprepared for a trip? And of course, we got there, whatever the case is, and it was a good trip. But it back when you were talking about, back then AAA, you could tell AAA where you're going,
But
and
you have
they
to tell
would
them ahead of time, though. You can't just show up there the day of and they'll do a trip. They needed a couple of days.
they need a couple of days because they want to
Yeah.
make it look real nice to you,
Right.
for
Right.
you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could go in there and like, hey, I'm going to Mississippi. Okay, here. But they like to make it real nice. I remember my parents used to get them, and they make it look real nice. It'd be like a booklet for you. All the gas stations along the way, all the restaurants along the way. I mean, it was real cool. And I think they probably still do it today. I don't know. But yeah, 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 yeah. So preparation. Um, Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's coming up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I remember a few times where Mr. Procrastinator, I'm chilling at the house, just chilling, maybe watching a game or two or something, just chilling. Like, oh yeah, I got time, I got time. Listen, man, I had to make something one time, and I think even when everybody was done eating, it was still cooking. I think it was. I'm trying to think what it was, but yeah, it was definitely
It's
still
probably the
cooking.
turkey.
And then and because I'm able to get through some things, I'm like, yeah, this wasn't for dinner. This is for people to take home with them. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't part of the meal. Nah, it was on the menu. Nah, it wasn't on the menu.
Hey, let me tell you, look, my sister was the first person to tell me about. Matter of fact, let me jump backwards. You remember when people used to cook turkeys overnight?
Oh yeah.
Right. Okay. So the first time that we hosted Thanksgiving, we found a couple of recipes and we recorded them from off of television,
Hmm.
and we had one of those little DVD players with the actual screen also,
Hmm.
and it was one of those ones that screw up into the cabinet.
Right.
So we would hit play, hit it, okay, write it down, and go do that particular thing, and then come back, hit play, okay, add this, okay, and we'll do that. So we figured out how to do the turkey within 4 hours.
Hmm.
So fast forward a couple of Thanksgivings, my sister said, "Hey, guess what I did last year? What? I fried a turkey. I got a turkey fryer and I fried my turkey, and it turned out really good." I'm like, "Well, how long did it take?" Less than an hour. So from then on, I was like, "Yo, that can save me a lot of time,
Right.
especially if my wife is doing everything else. I can pretend like I'm out there slaving away." But now, have you seen those commercials where the husband tells the wife, "Hey, I want you to do this." She
Right.
clicks on it and she's done within 5 minutes.
Right.
And
Right.
the husband goes out, and then when he comes back home, she puts water on it to make it look like she's been slaving
Yeah.
away
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
day. Okay, so I did it the first year. It went off wonderful. So the second year, I'm about to fry this turkey. So I waited until an hour before everyone's supposed to show up, and I get the oil. I get the oil, put it in the pot, put everything out in the yard, and I go to start the whole thing. There's no gas. The propane tank, and this is Thanksgiving Day, so everything's basically shut down.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
so I'm running all around trying to find a gas tank, and I'm telling you, they totally violated me when it came to that propane tank because they're the only ones that opened. I
Mm.
paid double that day
Wow.
for the propane tank because I
Wow.
wasn't prepared. And I came back. Now, luckily, we had a couple of family members that came late.
Right. So they
And
had
so
turkey.
everybody, the turkey was steaming hot. I'm telling you. Because normally you want to take it out, cut it up, and let it rest for a bit.
Yeah.
Man, people had their plates ready, and I was cutting that bird, and you could see everything was still sizzling, man. But yeah, I barely finished that on time. And then a couple of years ago, I ran out of propane again. And so yeah, I'm prepared when it comes to that particular thing. But I started early, just a couple of years back, so I made it in time.
Wow. Have you ever now we're gonna flip the script just a little bit, take the attention off of us. Um Singers.
Mm.
We've seen our fair share of singers, whether it's at a church or a wedding or a funeral. And I'm one for just watching, and I'm like, yeah, you were not prepared, right? So, have you ever give me a situation where that person, number one, they were unprepared, an unprepared singer, and how the reaction was? Like, what did you see?
Well, what? There's a song that I used to like, man, and the singer was singing it, and they sang the first verse, and they started the second verse, but the second verse ended like the first verse. And so they kept singing it over and over with just the first verse because they forgot all of the other verses. And we were like looking at each other like, what? Ain't that the same verse over and over and over again? But if you didn't know the song, it would seem like you know. So, but everybody's reaction was like, "What the world?" Have you seen him start to hum in the
Yes.
song like
Yeah, yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Listen. I have seen my fair share of singers throughout my lifetime, from growing up to today, and I mean, you see all kinds of things. And like you just said, they start the song, and then like you said, in like the first part, or they just start making up words. I mean, literally making up words, and think it sound good. Like, I'm just gonna, but you can tell, and I'm not saying that somebody called them to sing on the spot. Nope, 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 nope. You were part of the program for the last 7 weeks,
Mm.
and and then some of them will come in and they start the conversation out with, "I need for y'all to pray for me." See, that's the problem I got. That's the one right there. And I'm not just talking about singers because I want to bring attention to singers. I'm just talking about anybody, right? Pray for me because da 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 da, or my throat. Nah, don't make no excuses. Just get up there and sing the song and sit down. But we make so many excuses, knowing that we're just unprepared.
Hey, listen, I got one for you. Don't laugh too hard when I say this one, okay? I was 16 years old, 15 years old,
Mm-hmm.
had a girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
and I walked her from the school to the bus stop. And I'm walking back to the school, and I walked by the school bully.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to pause that story right there, kind of like in a movie where they get you to that point and then they go backwards.
Right.
Okay, this guy, his name was Mikey. His dad was in the military. He was American, but
Mm-hmm.
we were in England. He had just transferred over. His dad was an amateur boxer in the military. Mikey was short and wide.
Mm-hmm.
The first day that Mikey came to the school, Mikey saw these twins that were the original school bullies. They were beating up a girl. Now, I had just walked by the gym, saw them roughing up this girl. I kept walking because I did not want to be part of that,
Mm-hmm.
because they would have tore me a new one. As I'm going up the stairs, I look down. Mikey's first day. This is at the end of the school day. Mikey says, "Nah, you don't hit girls. Where I'm from, we don't hit girls." And he starts to beat these two guys mercilessly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these are the school bullies.
Right.
So now he becomes the head honcho. So I'm looking and I'm seeing this. Fast forward 2 weeks, Mikey comes to school with a little scratch on his face right here.
Mm-hmm.
And I had seen what happened because the day before he got jumped by about 10 guys.
Mm-hmm.
And they had weapons. And they called 5 ambulances for those 10 guys.
Mm.
And Mikey walked home like nothing had happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting back to my original story. So I'm walking by Mikey. He looks me dead in my eyes and he was like, "Who are you looking at?" I said, "You." That guy slapped me so hard. Knocked me down to the ground. And I'm down on the ground. I'm like, "Yo, man." I'm like, "People be doing this?" So something inside of me says, "Get up. Get up." I'm like, "Nah, he hit me too hard. I can't take another one of these. Get up." I saw him fight the other day and he
Right.
took the brakes off of 10 dudes. Get up. So I go to get up and he was like, "Boy, if you get up." I will kill you. So I lay back down. So I'm laying on the ground, right? He's like, don't get up till I walk around that corner. That corner was a good 100 feet away.
Mm-hmm.
So people are walking by me and they're like, you okay? Do you need to get up? No, I'm good. So I was unprepared for that hit that day, right? If I knew that my day was going to end like that, I would have stayed home because
Mercy.
he slapped the brakes off of me.
Did you while you were going through that moment, did you hear something in your head besides saying get up? Did you hear we fall down?
Nah, but check this out, man. That's the reason why I have two black belts to this day.
Right.
I vowed I would never in life get hit like that again. I would never be unprepared again in my life.
Wow.
He slapped the ever loving God out of me. So yeah, that was my ultimate unpreparedness in my life.
Wow. Wow. Woo! Listen. We done talk about some. I mean, in this small time, we've talked about a lot of things related to preparation.
Mm, mm, mm.
What's your takeaways, man?
Hey, be prepared. Don't let your mouth write. Don't let your mouth write checks that your body can't cash. That's the first one. Second one, you better be careful what you say to people because you don't know what other people dealing with, man. And look, life, period, man. Don't just be mouthing off to people just because you don't know what people's experience is. That's the first and second thing.
Right.
The next thing is this: procrastination is not something that you want to be known for. And if you listen to Tony Robbins, he says procrastination is due to people mistaking pain and pleasure. They want pleasure more than they want pain.
Mm.
The problem with procrastination is when you procrastinate too long, the pain of not doing it supersedes the positive of a better reputation.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want to change it, you have to change your mindset. Look beyond the pleasure of procrastination and look long term to the pain. And then look at the pain of doing something that you don't want to do and see and visualize the pleasure that you will get from getting it done. And so you have to reduce the pleasure of procrastination and increase the pleasure of getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how you deal with it. And so when I don't feel like doing things, I try to see the pleasure I'm going to get in the end result or in the long run. And that's what fuels me to keep going. Because if I look at it from any other standpoint, it is easier to not get stuff done.
That's true.
What's your takeaway?
First one, I'm gonna follow right where you left off. Is don't let procrastination be the one thing that makes you go viral. Because there are people out there that records everything, and that one misstep, that one missed song, that one missed speech, that one missed devotional could be the one thing that goes viral with the title "You Shouldn't Procrastinate."
Mm-mm-mm.
Preparation is time, and so you have to schedule it out. You have to, you can't just say, "Hey, I'm going to be prepared by this. I'll do this, this, and this." You got to put on your schedule. For anything that you're preparing for, whether it's a trip, whether it's a speaking engagement, whether it's to sing a song, whatever, you got to spend that time in that preparation. As Dr. Ziggy said, is that the pleasure behind it in preparedness, right? Sometimes when I prepare early, and you're exactly right about procrastination. So I'll send you a check for that one. That when I prepare, I feel a lot better.
Yeah.
I feel the stress off my back, and things of that nature. Even this past week, I had to work on a video. Now, seeing that I started getting some of the stuff late, um, I could have did some things early to prepare for the stuff that was going to come late, right? I could have
Mm-hmm.
had the title page done, the screen, different things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And, in the wee hours of the morning, I'm trying to get the title right. I'm trying to get the screen right. I'm trying to get the picture on there. I'm trying to get and, you got 140 plus pictures to work with. I'm trying to edit some of those pictures. So some of the things I could have did, even, I had to travel. So even in flight, I could have been editing some of the pictures and, because some of them cell phone pictures or, screenshots. So I found myself doing that. Now, I give myself a time frame, and as you mentioned about procrastination, even in my procrastination, I give myself a time frame, which is weird, right? So I said I got till boom, and I don't give myself extra hours on the back end of I need to be done by, right? So, um, you have to schedule out whatever you're doing. Now, I also say this as far as preparation: don't take on something you're not going to be able to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So unpreparedness goes hand in hand with that. Oh, I'll do it, or I'll do it, or I'll do it. You're overtaxing yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and so you have to manage that process. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in all things, don't be that one person to say I'm unprepared.
Yeah. Now I have a golden nugget for you. They say if you want to get something done, you give it to a busy person because a busy person has better time management skills. A lot of times you want to give it, oh, he ain't doing nothing. And that's the person who's going to mess you up.
Absolutely. You're absolutely, because the person not doing something is the person that don't want to do nothing. So
There
you're gonna give it to them and nothing's gonna be done.
you go. There
That's
you
simple and plain.
go.
Listen, I'm your boy Jay Tross. This is my boy Ziggy. And this show has been one on preparation for the unprepared person. And we out.
Peace.